an Edmonds kind of day. It's an Edmonds kind of day. Welcome to another awesome Edmonds kind of day.
Look out, One Direction. Edmonds has its own boy band member, Justin Fehler, and we'll be talking with him next, here on Edmonds Today.
Another opening, another show. The Edmonds Driftwood Players are proud to be celebrating 56 years of entertaining audiences in our community. Conveniently located in downtown Edmonds, the Wade James Theatre is close to fine dining for before or after the show. For performance schedules and ticket information, please visit us at driftwoodplayers.com. Close, affordable, fun. The Edmonds Driftwood Players. Come play with us.
Welcome to this edition of Edmonds Today. I'm your host, Teresa Whipple. In the studio with us today, we have Justin Fehler, who is an Edmonds native and is now in the UK making a name for himself as a singer. Justin, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you are someone who grew up in Edmonds, went to Sherwood Elementary, College Place Middle School.
Yes.
And then ended up going to school, as you said, in your bedroom, taking online classes because obviously you're following this new path.
Yeah.
And folks may know your mom, Denise Fehler, who
Yes.
runs the Cinderella's Bridal Shop in town.
Yeah.
And the reason why you're here, taking a break, this is actually being filmed in September
Yeah.
for our October show, because we wanted to get you while you were here. And your mom is actually closing her store, and as many people might know in town, and the reason is because she wants to move over to the UK and spend time with you.
Yes, and honestly, that's amazing. I just could never thank her enough for what she's doing.
Mm-hmm. And you're 17 now, right?
Yeah, just turned 17.
Okay. And went over to the UK to kind of explore musical career options, and then you got an offer to be in a boy band, is my
Yes.
understanding. So tell me about that.
Well, obviously, it's weird because I never would have thought to be in a boy band because I just thought boy band, I don't know. But then the whole thing with it, and I was like, okay, actually, it seems kind of cool and everything. And all the guys are amazing. I met them before and everything. And so it was just a great opportunity, and it's amazing. So.
Mm-hmm. And the the three other guys that you're in the band with are all
Yes.
from the UK or Ireland. I guess
Yes.
one of them is from there.
Yes.
And when people who are watching are thinking boy band, I'm sure they might be thinking, oh, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC,
Yes.
something like that. So is it that same kind of idea?
Kinda like, we'll obviously won't be like exactly like that. We'll be doing dancing, but not to like the extent of like what they do. But we will be doing like that kind of genre-ish, kind of that style.
Okay. Your group is in the UK, but it's called Stateside.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, to be honest, I asked the same question, and our management said pretty much because I'm the only American in the group.
And if people want to catch some of the songs that you guys are performing, where would they do that?
On SoundCloud and YouTube, just
Okay.
type in Stateside.
Okay, very good. And now that you're home for a little while, what are you kind of catching up on with friends? What else are you doing while you're here?
Buying clothes. Pretty much just kind of relaxing,
Yeah.
to be completely honest.
When you go out and are meeting fans, I would imagine one of the strangest parts for you is you've become somewhat of a celebrity, haven't you?
No, I wouldn't say celebrity. I would just say it's just weird knowing like the people kind of know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a strange feeling, but on the other hand, it's really nice like knowing they appreciate kind of like what you do.
Right.
So it's a great feeling.
Right. And you're on Twitter
Yes.
at Justin Fehler,
Yes.
right? And I've noticed just following you a little bit on Twitter that you do have a lot of, it appears to be 12 and 13-year-old girls who are tweeting you, and you wake up in the morning and they're there,
I would say our fans are probably like one of the best. They're amazing because they always care for us and what we do, and they're always so sweet. So honestly, we love them all.
That's
all
great.
of us love them.
Wonderful. Well, Justin, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you
and
so much
good
for
luck to
having
you.
me. Thank you.
'Cause you get lighter the more it gets dark. I wanna give you my heart.
I'm Peggy Sanders. At Sanders Law Group, we represent seniors. Our goal is your independence, security, and peace of mind. Call today for a 1/2-hour free consultation.
Welcome to Edmonds Today. I'm your host, Teresa Whipple. In the studio with us today, we have Gary Haakenson. Gary, welcome to the program.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know, you are probably one of the best-known figures around Edmonds in terms of somebody that name recognition, face recognition, and it's great to have you here because I know there are many who have been fascinated by the last few years of your career. You know, mayor of Edmonds, city council before that, and then you ended up in the county executive's office. But let's start with some history on you. You were a successful business person, owner of the Above the Belt stores, which became Zoomies. Why did you go into politics and public service?
That's a really good question. I asked myself that a lot over the last 18 years. You know, when I retired from Zoomies, actually, and stepped back from active day-to-day management, I opened a little baseball card shop in Perrineville, and often in the mornings I would have coffee with a couple of the Edmonds City Council members. And the more we talked, the more they tried to persuade me to be involved in politics and join the council. And I withstood their efforts for quite a long time until I decided that maybe it was time to join the council.
Okay, so 1996 you were elected to the city council, and then in 2000 became mayor, correct?
Correct.
Now, what was the next phase for seeking the mayoral position?
Why did I do it?
Yeah.
Those same city council members that I had met with asked me to join the council, then started asking me if I would run for mayor.
No pressure.
And again, my answer was no, not in a million years. So.
Right. Funny how that works.
Yep.
You resigned in 2010 from being mayor to become deputy director for Aaron Reardon, who was the Snohomish County executive at the time.
Sure.
And, you know, at that time, there was a lot of publicity about the troubles in the county executive's office, and Reardon was undergoing some scrutiny from the press. And so there were some who wondered, including me, why did you decide to leave the city?
Well, the title technically was deputy executive, which is
you.
basically second in charge of the county.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I had made it pretty public that I wasn't going to run for a fourth term as mayor. And so everyone said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, something will come along. And so one day Aaron Reardon came along and said, how'd you like to be second in command of the county? And at that time, things weren't out of control at the county. Things were pretty much under control, and there was some typical bickering between the executive and the county council and some of the elected officials, but nothing major at that point in time. And so the opportunity for me to move to a management job that I had, you know, 200 employees to 2,000 employees, and working, frankly, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, no nights, no weekends, no events that I had to go to. You know, being mayor is more than a full-time job, and you make it what you want to make it. And I participated in a lot of things that were outside of a normal 40-hour work week. And after I forget how many council meetings, thousands of council meetings, and many night events, it was appealing to me to have just a Monday through Friday job where somebody else was the guy who was taking all the heat. You know, I just had to run the county. So there was a lot of appealing aspects to that offer.
Okay. And, you know, I want to read something to you. I was looking through the archives of some of the columns that you wrote while you were mayor, and in your last column, before you left to go to the county, you had written something, and I was going to share this with you. With 40,000 people as your boss, it is impossible to please everyone. Likewise, it was often a challenge to work hand in hand with 7 council members. Now, I sit through a lot of city council meetings myself, and it seems like there is kind of this ongoing tension, which I suppose is normal between the executive branch and the elected officials. But was part of the reason for you moving to the counties you're just kind of tired of that, tired of the conflict?
Well, I think the conflict wears on you. I mean, it really hasn't subsided since I've been gone, you know, over 4 years now, and what I read in your publication and what I see every once in a while when I flip the channel to the council meeting is that same sort of tension still exists. And you do get weary of that, especially when it manifests itself in a more personal manner, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure that must be difficult to be in the public eye, as you say all the time. And, you know, I can understand why you might not, or anybody might not want to do that for
Sure.
you know, a long period of time. So you go to the county executive's office, and you said, you know, at the time things were relatively stable, although, you know, background of some conflict. And then all of a sudden there were news reports about the county executive, you know, being investigated by the state patrol for possibly inappropriately using some public funds, having an affair. There were just the battles with the Everett Herald over, a staffer using social media anonymously to discredit people. I mean, it sounded pretty messy. How did you make it through that time and survive?
Well, there's no question it was a messy time. It was not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. And, we were fortunate to have a great crew of directors, for department directors up there. And when this all started, it was also during an election period. And so for appointed officials, whenever there's an election, it's a very nerve-wracking time, because are they going to keep their same boss? Are they going to get a new boss? Is a new boss going to come in and clean house? So tensions were pretty high for the directors as it was, and then they were also going out and attending meetings with other counties or cities, and of course the questions always revolved around, hey, what's going on up there? It's crazy. So I sat down with the directors and I said, listen, we have to do our job. No matter what is going on around us, we just have to avoid all that, stay away from it, and do our job. And everybody kind of banded together and did that. And I think, frankly, it brought all of us closer together. There was the press and the media and all the circus atmosphere that was around. There were camera crews there all the time. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can only imagine. It must have been. I covered you when you spoke before the Edmonds Daybreakers Rotary Group in June of 2013, and that was shortly after, Aaron Reardon had resigned following all of the kind of craziness that was going on, and a new county executive had been appointed to take his place, John Lovick, then the Snohomish County Sheriff. And at that point, when you spoke to the Daybreakers, you weren't even sure if you were going to have a job.
Right.
And as it turned out, you did. But I thought it was really interesting that when you were talking to the Daybreakers group about Aaron Reardon, and you said that, you had told him that the third term would always be the hardest because by that point, to quote you, inevitably as a politician, you've created enemies, and your enemies exponentially get bigger, and the ones that really don't like you get louder. And of course, in your third term, kind of, were there some parallels there when you talked to him about that advice?
For sure.
You had known that.
Yeah, and he wrestled with that before. I did not know he was going to actually file for a third term until Friday afternoon of filing week, when he came back and said, okay, I did it. Mm-hmm. He was really wrestling with that. In retrospect, for his life, probably would have been better if he didn't. Mm-hmm. But,
right.
It is what it is.
And you, so from your standpoint, at the time you spoke to the Daybreakers, you weren't sure if you had a job, and then you did. So what happened next?
Well, the Executive Lovick met with me several times. He brought in a new deputy executive to replace me, and I met with both of them several times before they actually came in and worked at the county and sort of offered my advice. They asked a lot of questions, and they asked me if I would stay through the end of that year, and I agreed to do that. And at the end of last year, they asked me if I would stay again, and I said, well, this time why don't we just go on a quarter-to-quarter basis? Because I told Aaron that I would serve for him as deputy executive through the end of his second term, and halfway through his third term, I would retire. So he was aware of that. Unfortunately, he beat me to the punch, so to speak. But so then I just said, I'd be happy to do that, but let's just go quarter by quarter and see how it goes for 2014.
Okay. And interestingly enough, in 2014, after you agreed to stay on, you had even more challenges, and we're going to talk about that next when we come back on Edmonds Today.
I'm Peggy Sanders. At Sanders Law Group, we represent seniors. Our goal is your independence, security, and peace of mind. Call today for a 1/2 hour free consultation.
Welcome back to Edmonds Today. I'm your host, Teresa Whipple, and we are going to continue our conversation with former Edmonds Mayor Gary Haakenson. Gary, we were talking about the challenges that you faced when you stayed on with the new county executive, John Lovick, and that manifested itself in something that nobody could have predicted, which was the 5:30 landslide. Tell me what happened during that time.
Sure. Well, that I believe it was a Saturday morning, and I got a message that there was a mudslide over Highway 530, and that was all I got. It was pretty cryptic, and I just went, it's been raining for days. Mm-hmm. Mudslides are pretty common around here. It's on a state highway. Why are you sending me this? That was kind of my thought. And of course, within minutes, it evolved into one of the worst disasters that Snohomish County's ever had. And it was chaotic, to say the least. As mayor in Edmonds, we used to train for earthquakes, for earthquake preparedness. After 2001, we prepared for terrorist attacks. We were trained, all the city employees, the department directors. We went through immense training. I mean, in fact, it was difficult to find a way to pay for all that training, at the time. But no training could have prepared you for what happened up there, none. And so that was part of the issue to begin with, I believe, was it was a mudslide of mammoth proportions, and they would call firefighters in who were trained in fighting fires, even out in in forest land. Not the same. They would call search and rescue guys in who had never seen anything like it before. So it was all new. Everybody that went through it, as difficult as it was for the families who lost loved ones and lost their possessions, it was difficult for all of us who were involved because it was a learning experience for us too. Hopefully we'll never have to go through something like that again, but it was crazy. We were working on debris cleanup. As it turns out, we actually were working on, as we were doing debris cleanup in one area, we were still missing one victim. Mm-hmm. And we had pretty good idea that victim was in that area. So I talked to the contractor and I said, please go very slowly, sift through everything here. And they continued to find clues on a daily basis, pieces of clothing, articles from their home. So we knew we were really close, and fortunately that allowed us to eventually recover her body and to find, I think if you had been up there, if anyone's actually been there and seen it, to believe that you could find the 43 missing people in all of that, no one would have ever said you could have done that. Yeah. So it's a miracle that even happened, and those folks are still struggling. I send out a weekly email. I'm the one that leads the recovery team, so I send out a weekly email. In fact, today is my day to do it. It'll be my last one for them. Just keeping them apprised of what's going on, answering questions for them, and it's been a humbling experience.
Yeah, and I was able to attend your retirement party at the county at the end of September, and one of the things that was mentioned was the fact that you were, literally giving out your cell phone, your email address to all of these folks who had been affected by this. And there were people who said, don't do that because you're just going to be inundated by all of that. And you just said, it's what I needed to do. And I think you even got a phone message from somebody when you were in the retirement party who was contacting you, right?
I did. I did not turn my phone off. And it started to ring in the middle of it, and I looked and I recognized the area code was back in North Carolina somewhere. And there is a woman back there who lost her father in the slide, and so she's been concerned about a few things, and so she was calling. And I wanted to be able to give those people a contact and people that they knew could help them, and somebody that if they just wanted to call and chat. Mm-hmm. And they've taken advantage of that, and it's been, as I said, it's just been a humbling experience.
Yeah. Well, and again, through the retirement party conversation, there was just kudos over and over about your ability to bring the county government together during difficult times, just kind of this cohesive force. And one of the standing jokes was, and I've seen this in some past articles, is that you were in basically somebody who has been considered to be a Republican coming into this kind of Democratic environment with all these Democratic people, and yet you've, managed to just kind of find your, place to be able to help out. And why do you think that is? Why did the party politics not come into play for you?
Well, Aaron Reardon took a big chance when he brought me up there because he's a Democrat. He knew I was a Republican, so that I'm sure was not something that the Democratic Party wanted to see. They'd like to see Democrats in working with Democrats, and at the same time, our county, for better or for worse, is Everett-centric, and the old money, the old-time regime in Everett doesn't sort of even believe that South County exists most of the time. Right. And so he brought someone in from South County and someone who was a Republican. Mm-hmm. And, politically for him, that's probably a pretty good move, right, if you're going to try and get votes from South County. And so when I went up there, I had a huge advantage because I knew all the elected officials already. I knew all the county council members. And the first day I was there, I first week I was there, I met with all of them. And my message to them was, I know there's been some bickering going on. At some point, this county's going to have to ask the taxpayers to approve a tax increase for some of the things that you want to get done. And the public doesn't want to see the bickering. They don't want to see the elected officials fighting and the finger pointing and all of that. And I said, why don't we see if we can sort of get through all that and, you know, get some things accomplished here. And I think that message was pretty well received early on. The issues with Reardon, of course, wiped all of that goodwill out, and the bickering began again. Mm-hmm. But I think I was well received only because I knew all the players when I got there.
Right. Well, and now you are about ready to leave. You are. The joke around Edmonds is, we talked about this earlier, is that does Gary Haakenson ever really stay retired for long? Because this is, you know, another chapter in your life maybe. So the question is what is next for you? Are you really retiring this time?
Well, my last day is October 8th, and I don't know when this will show. Could be before or after that. So the morning of October 9th, when I wake up, I have absolutely no idea what's next.
So ruling out another public office or not at this point?
You know, I'm not going to rule out anything.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. It'll be nice to have some time off. I've had, in my estimation, 3 great careers, and I've enjoyed every one of them. So if I need to find something to do, I'm sure I probably can. I've had a couple offers already, but I've just told folks I'm really not ready to move in that direction yet.
Okay, and I'm sure your wife Dolly, who also got a lot of kudos at the retirement party for her kind of patient, you know, putting up with all of the things that, you know, you had to go through. I'm sure she will appreciate having some time with you.
You know, I don't think those folks that spoke, I think understand. Anybody who's in public office understands. But not only as mayor was I gone a lot, and so she was home by herself, but oftentimes she would attend with me. And so, you know, when you're mayor, you have to be on all the time, day or night, no matter where you're at. Even if you're shopping at QFC, you know, people want to come up and talk to you. And she, I think, grew a little weary of that, having to be on all the time and everything. And then, you know, you, of course, as a spouse, gather your own opinions of things and of people and how things go. And so sometimes you just have to bite your tongue and, you know. Yeah. So I think she was glad that was over. So she thinks having me home is going to be a wonderful thing. Check back with me in a month. We'll see how that's working out.
And in fact, I think one of my favorite stories from the retirement party was when Dave Erling had talked about how his wife had complained about early in his career that he was never home. And so he said, okay, I'm going to quit and I'm going to stay home. And was it after a month or two? That was the end of that. And he went back to doing what he was doing. So, and, you know, just to close, is there anything else that you want to say before we sign off? Any messages to the people of Edmonds about?
Well, you know, I first of all, I have to say that, you know, my success in Edmonds and my success at the county it all comes from the employees that work for me. I mean, they're the ones that got the job done, and particularly at the county during all those tough times, they kept their nose to the grindstone and did their jobs. And I sometimes think it doesn't matter who's mayor or who's county executive, that as long as you've got good employees, the work's going to continue on. Sometimes maybe we just get in the way of that. So I miss the people of Edmonds. I get asked all the time, you know, they don't see me a lot because I've been up at the county, and so now, for better or for worse, they're going to see me more. But the people of Edmonds have been just so supportive of me through all my time on the council and as mayor. You saw it on Tuesday. I don't know how many people. There was 25 or 30 people from Edmonds there at my retirement party, and I really appreciate that, and I'm humbled by it. So it's been great. I look forward to seeing them around town.
Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing you around town, too, and thanks for being on the program today.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Welcome to Edmonds Today. I'm your host, Teresa Whipple. In the studio with us today, we have Dave Buelow. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Teresa. Pleasure to be here.
Now, you are representing the Edmonds South Snohomish County Historical Society. Did I get that right?
You did. Congratulations.
But we're just going to say Edmonds Museum from now on because that's
Perfect.
A mouthful. And you brought some friends with you today. Tell me more about these guys.
Well, these are called the Kids, and they're a couple of scarecrows representing children trick-or-treating on Halloween, and they were built by the people in the guild at the museum.
And of course, the reason for having them on the show today is to publicize the Scarecrow Festival that the museum is putting on, and this is the second year, is my understanding. Provide a few more details about how people can actually participate in this.
Well, the best way to do things is to go to our museum website, and there's a Scarecrow button there which you can click on, and it has all the details about the contest.
Okay. And there are 6 categories, which we will list on the screen, as well as the museum website and other contact information. But what kinds of bragging rights do people get if they actually win the contest? What would they receive if they're chosen as the winner?
Well, you've hit on the big one, which is bragging rights. Remember, this is a free contest, so we don't have a wealth of resources.
Okay.
But what we are going to do is give a certificate to people, which they can display in their homes or places of business. They also get a 2015 membership to the museum.
Okay.
And if you're a business, the publicity that goes along with it, which is one of the main reasons we're having the contest, is to help our merchant members and people in Edmonds. And as you mentioned already, bragging rights.
Right. And for those people there who maybe have never been to the museum, that of course is the beautiful Carnegie Library building across from City Hall on 5th Avenue, and it has been recently remodeled. It's a gorgeous facility, and really does talk a lot about the history of town, which many people are maybe not aware of, all of our rich history here. And the museum also has another big event going on in October, and maybe you can talk more about that.
We do. Our Heritage Day dinner, which is primarily a fundraiser. This year we're going to be rolling out the preliminary conceptual plans for what we'd like to do outside on the exterior of the museum building, because we've done the interior floors in the last 2 years. And it's going to be held on October 24th from 6 to 9 p.m., and it's at the Holy Rosary Parish Center.
Okay. And I believe the mayor of Edmonds and Nancy Leeson, who is a food columnist for the Seattle Times, are going to be speaking, which should be very entertaining. And we'll have more information about that as well on the screen. And, of course, people can go to the website to register for the dinner, too.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, we look forward to seeing all the scarecrows popping up around town, and I have to say, last year the creativity was quite amazing. And one more thing, people don't need to feel intimidated about making their own scarecrow, right? It's not that hard.
No, these are available at the museum. This is Scarecrow Technology 6.0. It's made by PVC piping, so you can almost animate the scarecrows. And on our website, there's a couple of links, and also on YouTube. There's lots of ways to build scarecrows and be very creative.
Yeah, and last year I remember seeing some of the photos. There was everything from the Seahawks 12th Man to the Wizard of Oz scarecrow to a variety of other things. So lots of opportunities to have fun.
Yeah, we had 54 scarecrows and no duplicates last year. So.
Okay, very good. Well, Dave, thanks so much for joining us today. And again, if people want to register, we have all the information for them. And may the competition begin.
Thank you so much, Teresa.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janette Turner with Edmonds Happy Hour, and I'm here today with Al and Saida Castillo at Las Brisas. And Al is going to make a happy hour margarita for us.
Hey, Janette, how you doing? Yeah, we will show you guys how to make the margarita. So first of all, we're gonna use salt ring. Then we're gonna use a little bit sweet and sour, little agave syrup. Don't forget the tequila. You can add maybe 1.5 ounces. I think it's more than enough. Depends how you like it. Scoop the ice, little water. Then you just shake it. There we go.
Oh, looks fantastic.
Thank you so much. What do you think?
It's delicious.
One of my favorite happy hour items is the steak tacos, the chicken tacos, which is we grill it, the chicken and the beef. We serve it with the spicy sauce and of course lime, and that's one of my favorite tacos. We have wine, imported beer, draft beer, and well drinks. Come and join me every day, 3 to 6, 9 to close. Salud.
Salud.
It's an Edmonds kind of day. It's an Edmonds kind of day. Welcome to another awesome Edmonds kind of day.